Okay, so it's about 5 minutes after 10, so we'll go ahead and get started, and as other folks join in, we'll let them into the room as well. My name is Richard Murphy. I am Program Coordinator of the Engineering Technology area, as well as Dean of the Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering Technology areas. And I want to let Mr. George White and Ms. Stephanie Phillips introduce themselves real quickly, and then we'll get started with your new program orientation this morning.
Hello, my name's George White. I am the EIT instructor here for OC Tech.
I'm Stephanie Phillips, and I'm one of the engineering instructors and the physics instructor.
All right, so as we go through this, I believe you have access to a chat option or application. So as we go through, if you have a quick question, or even if it's not a quick question, if you want to type that in, we'll be monitoring that as we go. And if it's something that we'll be able to answer very quickly, we'll answer it. And if it needs a little more detail, we may just hold off until the end. But you do have the ability to give us feedback as we go through. And if you have any questions about any of the points that we're talking about, please let us know. I know that you participated in a new student orientation that was campus-wide earlier this morning. So hopefully you got a lot of your questions answered related to just general information about the college and student services and different options that the college offers. So what we want to do, we want to offer a little more specific information that's really directly related to the program that you're in, career opportunities and things like that. So we're going to kind of go through just a PowerPoint presentation, and we'll take a look at some pictures that we've taken that are from the lab and some industrial applications, so you can kind of get a feel for what it is that you're really getting into. So like I said, we'll offer a general overview of the program, look at some of the opportunities that you'll have in the program as you're going through, looking at the job outlook so you can start planning your future once you finish the program, and some information sort of like what to expect, not only just being a college student, a student at OC Tech, but also a student in the engineering technology area and program. So since a lot of the jobs that you folks will be looking at once you've finished the program is directly related to manufacturing and automated processes and, say, power production, just wanted to share just a little information about the state of South Carolina and how it kind of is related to manufacturing in the state. And these statistics are just for manufacturing jobs, and that's a manufacturing job that can be anywhere from an operator or a technician or an engineer. But just looking at the average salary, and this was actually from a couple of years ago, and this is from information from the South Carolina Manufacturers Alliance website. But if you just look at the difference between just any job or the average of any job in the state at $43,000 compared to $71,000 as an average salary of someone in manufacturing. And this is just average of manufacturing. This isn't really directly related to instrumentation and engineering technology. Some of those jobs pay actually a whole lot more once you have your degree and a few years experience. But just the whole aspect of manufacturing in South Carolina and how huge it is, it really represents about 12% of employment for all residents in South Carolina. And if I hesitate, it's because I'm still letting folks into the room. I don't want to miss anyone, so I have to do that when someone asks permission to come into the room. And most of the jobs that you're really going to be looking at when you finish, you think about some of the very large employers in the state, like Continental Tire or Michelin or International Paper or Dominion Energy. Those are really, really large companies, and they have a lot of instrumentation, EET positions available, and they pay really well. But when you finish, also keep in mind that there are thousands of manufacturing businesses in the state. And some of these manufacturing facilities are somewhat small and local, but they still have a very large need for well-trained and highly skilled technicians. So don't discount those as well when you start looking at how you want to plot out your career or start looking for jobs once you finish the program. So a little bit about the program just in general. Something that I like to point out to everyone, that the EIT program has a very active, what we refer to as a program advisory board. And these people represent technicians, engineers, managers, operators, anything to do with the industrial segment of folks that hire our graduates. So we rely on them and their advice and their information and input every year so that we make sure that the content in the program is current, that the equipment that we work with is current, and we constantly getting feedback so that when you finish the program, you're ready to step into one of these high-paying jobs right away. Just be ready on day one. All of the instructors that we have in the program, and you met a couple of them this morning, a few minutes ago, and myself, they all have industrial experience, which is really important because we don't want to have instructors that only have just the knowledge from a textbook perspective, but we also want them to have the ability to relate this to real world applications and have hands-on experience. And they'll be able to share a lot of their experience and background with you as you take your classes over the next 2 years. If you're in the EET program, and EET is Electronic Engineering Technology, that's the name of the degree, but we also actually have 2 tracks for EET. So you have signed up for one of the 2 tracks. One of the tracks is EIT, which is Electronic Instrumentation Technology, and overwhelmingly the number of students that come into the program will go into the EIT track. The other track is referred to as ETP. We're going to look at the difference between the 2 tracks in a few minutes when we start looking at the courses that are in each program. And the other track is the ETP, like I said, and that's the Engineering Technology programming track. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those as we go through this. All of the labs that we have, and like I mentioned, that we get a lot of feedback and advice from our advisory board and the committee members. But all of the labs we have are built on industry standard equipment. And that doesn't mean just the test equipment that you're using, but it's the sensors that you set up, it's the PLCs, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, it's all of the calibration equipment, test equipment, the tools. We build it on industry standard equipment because we want to make sure that you have the ability to interface and use all of these tools that you're going to be expected to use when you go to work. So the equipment that you use in lab, that'll be the same equipment that you're going to see when you go to work. And we make sure that we put in a lot of effort that we continue to do that. What you're also going to find out is that you're going to spend the majority of your time in labs, which is really great because if you're in labs, you're working with hands-on, you're actually applying the things that you may discuss in class or online. But overwhelmingly, if you look at the course catalog and the courses that are in the catalog related to the program, you're going to see that the hours spent in lab are far greater than hours that would be spent in the classroom. So this is a good time to point out that obviously things are a little different this semester than it would be, say, last semester in 2019. So all of the classes that you're registered for, whether it's engineering applications or circuits or anything that has a lab associated with it, all of these will be offered in what we refer to as a hybrid format. So in a few minutes, we're going to talk about D2L and how you access all of your online materials. But that means that at the very beginning, you're going to have basically what would be your traditional lecture will be set up online. There will be activities for you to do. There will be group discussions. There will be quizzes, different other assessments and assignments. There will be recorded video lectures or maybe even live video lectures with your instructor, depending on how they have it set up. So that's really intended to take the place of your in-class portion of your program this semester. Your lab portion will start as soon as your instructor lets you know. It can start as early as next week or the week before. So you'll look at your schedule and you're going to see that you have a lab time scheduled. It will give you the day, the time, and the classroom and your instructor. And those will be your own campus lab activities that you'll have every week throughout the entire semester. If you have more than one class, a lot of you may be taking EET 113, which is your Electronic Circuits 1, along with EGR 130, which is your Engineering Programming and Applications. You'll have an online component of that because it's a hybrid, but then each week you'll have a scheduled lab time where you'll come on campus, go into the lab and do your lab work. One thing to keep in mind that we're keeping the number of students in a lab very small because we're going to have lots of equipment. Everybody will have their own equipment to work with. We're going to maintain social distancing. We're going to implement all of the precautions that were shared with you in the previous new student orientation earlier today. But even when we don't have all of those precautions in place, we try to keep our classrooms and our labs very small because we want to make sure that students have the ability to interface with equipment, make sure that they have their questions answered, they have the ability to interface with their instructors, and that works well when we have small classrooms and small lab sizes. When you begin the program, you're going to start out taking your electronics and some of your engineering programming courses, and that's really going to give you a very firm foundation in just the fundamentals of circuits and electrical theory. And then from there, what you're going to find that every semester, you're going to be introduced to new concepts, new applications, and they're designed to build on top of each other so that you start out this fall semester with some of the basics, learning these theories of electronic circuits and things like that. And then every semester, you're going to get into a little more detail. And when you finish the program, you're going to see how it just kind of all fits together. But the foundation of what you're going to learn begins this semester. One of the things that we really put a lot of effort in, and we're really proud of this, is that we have a lot of project-based learning opportunities. And when you see the lab in a few minutes, on some of the pictures that we have, you're going to see some of the projects that students have built. And I'm going to ask Mr. George White, and he introduced himself at the beginning. He's the senior EIT instructor, to talk a little bit about some of these project-based learning opportunities. So George, if you just take a minute or so and talk a little bit about that.
Well, as Mr. Murphy said, we really do stress hands-on opportunities for you to go ahead and access the equipment, and also not only access the equipment, but actually build different projects. In the last year we did it, some of the projects in the fall and also in the spring. So you can go ahead and put what you've learned over the period of time that you've been here to use. So each year we have individual projects or team projects that the students work on, and we have some smaller projects, and also we have some of the larger projects which we have a process simulator. The students have worked on this for several years, and of course this spring semester we had a little bit of a delay because of the virus, but we have some really interesting things that are going on that go ahead and put what you've learned to use. So as Mr. Murphy said, a lot of this equipment that you're going to be working on, you'll see out in the field. So this just gives you more of an opportunity to put what you've learned to use. It's very interesting. We break up in different areas, and it is really a good learning experience.
All right, thank you. And what Mr. White mentioned about these different project-based learning opportunities, these are giving you real-world experiences for students. So the things that you'll work on with Mrs. Phillips or Dr. Jackson in your circuits class, or Mr. White, these are real-world applications. These aren't just some things that we thought would be, very nice for you to do or take up your time, but these are really related directly to what you're going to do when you go to work. Also, we have an extensive instruction in PLC programming. PLCs basically are industrial computers that automatically operate automated processes, whether it's a power plant or a tire factory or an automobile manufacturing facility. And we're going to take a look at the PLC lab in just a second, but keep in mind we're going to start you from the ground up on PLC programming. We do use a lot of simulation software as well, even though we have the real world devices and instruments where you have your hands-on opportunities. We also have a lot of simulations. For example, we have PLC simulators where you can program automated systems in a virtual plant environment. We have circuit simulations where you can build a virtual circuit and test it. We have electrical circuit simulations. We have a process plant where you can operate it do a lot of really cool stuff with it. So we kind of embed these simulation software features and opportunities throughout your several semesters here. One thing to go ahead and let you know that once you start the program, you will be assigned an academic advisor, and depending on who it is, it would either be Mr. White, myself, or Dr. Sharice Jackson will be your academic advisor. We're going to talk about how you find out who that is in just a few minutes. So I wanted to share a few pictures of some real world industrial areas so you can kind of get an idea of where you're headed with your career. So if you look at this picture over on the left, you see what looks sort of like a touch screen. And that's what it is. That is an interface for operators to actually see what's happening out in the manufacturing facility. So as a technician, you would be required to not only program this type of interface, but make sure that all of the sensors that are measuring all these different parameters, whether it's temperature, level, pressure, or flow, or operating an automated robotic system, all of that information comes back to these touchscreen sensors so that operators can not only monitor everything that's going on out in the field, but they can also control things. This just shows a whole lot of sensors out in the process. You see a couple of technicians either doing a calibration or inspecting on some of these instruments. So these instruments are actually made by a company called Rosemont, and these are the type of sensors and instruments and transmitters that you'll learn how to work with in the program. And then these last two, the picture on the left shows an operator in a central control room, and basically they're just monitoring a whole lot of monitors. But all of those monitors have information of system parameters, and all of that information is coming from these sensors. So the instrument technician over on the right, he's interfacing with some of these transmitters and these sensors. So all of these sensors, there could be thousands of them out in a plant, are sending information to computer systems to not only give information to operators, but also ultimately automatically control all of these different processes. And we go through this from, like I said, from the very foundation all the way through. A couple of technicians working out in the field, one on a PLC, the other in an electrical cabinet with test equipment and kind of ready to go. All right, so some of the highlights of the program, like I mentioned, it does have two tracks. You're either on the electronic instrumentation track or the engineering technology programming track. The two tracks are exactly the same the first 4 semesters. The final semester is where it veers off and can be a little different. So if you ever want to change from one track to the other, you basically have 4 semesters to make up your mind. Keep in mind that there is a university transfer option for the program. So if you know that for a fact that you want to go to a 4-year college when you finish your program here, you want to let us know right away, because you'll go into a higher level math. You'll take the math that transfers to a 4-year university. You'll take the English, the psychology, any of the other courses that would transfer. Beyond that, you would work with your transfer university to look at all of your other courses, and then they would decide which courses that they would take and give you course credit for. But you really need to let us know that this semester if you plan to do that, because it helps you maximize the transfer credits. Something I want to point out, our program is ABET accredited, and ABET basically is a worldwide organization that accredits engineering and engineering technology programs. So even though we're an engineering technology program, we go through the same requirements and the rigor and the self-studies and everything else that's required for any engineering technology program, whether it's here or at the Citadel, at Clemson, or at USC. And it's really a pretty big deal for us. Excellent job placement and excellent earning potential. Matter of fact, we're required to report the job placement rate of our graduates. And we always report this maybe like a year or a year and a half after a program year. So we just finished our job placement report for year before last. And once again, we were at 100% job placement rate of graduates in the program going into an electronic engineering technology or instrumentation technology type of program. The program does have a fall and a spring start. Obviously, all of you folks are starting in the fall, but if for some reason you needed to repeat a course, and I don't expect that to be the case for any of you, but if that is the case, you would have the opportunity to take that course over in the spring and still stay on track and finish the program in the 5 semesters. The EIT track, the instrumentation track, does have a co-op, and we'll talk about co-ops in a few minutes, and that allows you to have the opportunity to work with one of our industry partners during one of your final spring semesters or during your final spring semester, and that is a paid position. And we'll talk about some of the requirements for that in just a second. So what do you do as an instrumentation technician or an engineering technology technician? The pictures we looked at a few minutes ago, we had a lot of sensors and transmitters, and those are designed to measure and control level, pressure, flow, analytical, temperature applications. So your job as a technician would be to set those up, program them, configure them, install them, and to maintain them. And you'll learn how to do that from the ground up in the program. You're also going to be required to optimize systems, to troubleshoot systems, to maintain automatic control in automated processes. And when you see the lab in a few minutes, you're going to see that we have all the equipment that's here on site to allow you to learn how to not only troubleshoot, but how to set these systems up to optimize them for automatic control. You are going to take a couple of semesters of PLC programming, and you'll see the PLC lab in just a second. And as an engineering technology technician or instrumentation technician, one of your jobs will be to program them, but also to use PLCs, these industrial computers, to help you in troubleshooting different systems and make sure that they're working correctly. We also go into electrical systems, motor controls, control valves, variable speed drives. So even though we're really heavily involved in the instrumentation, we also give you enough electrical experience so that when you go to work, you could be classified as an electrical instrumentation technician, because many folks really want to have a technician when they hire them to sort of be multi-skilled. So even though your focus will largely be on instrumentation process control, you're also going to have the knowledge of electrical systems as well. So this is taking a look at some of the pictures in the lab. Now, think back, we saw a couple of pictures a few minutes ago of industrial applications that were from real-world automated processes. But this is one of the projects that Mr. White talked about a few minutes ago. So we're really big on project-based learning and also giving you experience that are real-world experiences that you're going to encounter when you go to work. So even though this looks like it could be really taking out of a process plant, this is in your process control lab here on campus. So you'll have an opportunity to work with these real-world systems in the lab. This is looking at, I think we have 6 of these, and these are really just miniature plant systems. And we have 6 of them. They operate on pressure, level, flow, and some of them on temperature as well. And it allows students to have on one-on-one time working with these instruments, the control valves, the sensors, the programming, setting up the systems for automatic control. So this is all part of the process control lab. This is a picture this is actually the calibration lab, and you have multiple labs that you'll be working in over the next couple of semesters. And this is where you start to learn how to set up these different sensors, how to do your calibration, begin working with your test equipment and things like that. And obviously you have other labs for your PLC programming and your circuits and things like that. I mentioned PLCs earlier, and I think it's really important that I really emphasize what it is. And a PLC is a programmable logic controller, and that is an industrial computer that is designed to operate industrial processes. And it's such a big deal, you're going to take several semesters of PLC programming, and you'll also use these PLCs in a lot of your senior project work and some of your real-world experiences that you'll get with Mr. White working on these project-based learning opportunities. But this is a picture of the PLC lab. This is where you'll learn how to program PLCs and troubleshoot PLCs. And this is another kind of an all-in-one trainer that you'll use for electrical controls, learn how to design and create and demonstrate electrical control systems as well as PLCs. Like I said, we do a lot of simulation as well, and we're just out of time. I'm going to run this a little bit, but this is just an automated process that would be very typical in a industrial application. But a student actually would have to program this using a PLC. So a real-world PLC is operating this, we're just using this scenario as a learning opportunity for students. We have probably a dozen of these different scenarios that you'll work with once you get into the program. All right, so now let's get into a little bit about the program requirement and some of the things that they really wanted us to emphasize. Everything up to this point was really talking about what you're going to do once you finish and some of the things that the program entails. But I want to go into some of the courses. You're in fall 1, and don't be worried if you're not taking all of these courses, because some folks are going part-time, some are going full-time, some are taking a different math. So don't really worry about this, but if you're following the catalog, fall 1, you're going to take, like I said, it starts out just building the foundation that's going to help you, that will continuously add on to that every semester. But you're going to start out with your electrical circuits. You'll take engineering ethics. Engineering ethics is a completely online course. Your EGR 130, engineering applications or programming, that's a hybrid course. EGT 152 may be a hybrid, or it may be an online course. And remember what I said at the beginning, all the courses this semester are hybrid, which means that you have to log into D2L, which we're going to talk about in a second, every day, because that's where all of your coursework will be. That's where you'll interface with other people in your class, as well as your instructor, all of your assessments, assignments, videos, anything that you need for your class. And then you'll go to lab every week based on how your schedule is set up. Then as we're looking into your spring 1 and summer 1, keep in mind this is a year-round program, so you will be required to go to classes in the summer semester to stay on track. In the spring 1, you'll take your next circuits class, which is EET 141. You'll take an engineering programming class, your next math. You begin your physics 1 in the spring, physics 2 in the summer. You'll take your final circuits class, digital, EET 145 in the summer, and then you'll begin taking your instrumentation, electrical process control classes beginning in the summer 1. And this doesn't matter whether you're on the instrumentation track or the technology programming track, because both of those are the same for the first 4 semesters. The fall semester, you begin to take your PLC classes, your electrical control classes, and you continue taking your instrumentation classes. And this is for the EIT. The EIT does have a co-op built into it. The programming track does not at this point, but the instrumentation track does. So the spring 2, this is a sequence of courses that you would take, unless you do a co-op, which I'm about to introduce some of that in just a few seconds. In that case, you would take this course that's referred to as EIT 240. And that would give you, still a course you'd register for, you get course credit for it, but if you take that, you exempt EIT 244 and EIT 220 and 242. You will have to come back in the summer and take your final courses. But the engineering technology programming track, the fall 2 semester is exactly the same, but your final spring semester, your sequence of courses are a little different. You get into a little more detail of PLC programming, distributed control systems, more of the automated technology that's really related to programming that deviates just a little bit from the standard instrumentation track. And you'll finish after your second spring semester. Like I said, it does not have a co-op opportunity built into the ETP track. That is only applicable to the instrumentation track. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the co-op opportunities. Like I said, it is part of the instrumentation track. It will be available for students that are in their final spring semester. Make sure that you keep your GPA up as high as possible. You have to have a 3.0 to qualify. A co-op opportunity is not guaranteed. If you have a 3.0 GPA and you're interested in it, then you are able to apply for co-op positions. So what we do on our end, we just make sure that you're in the final spring semester, that yes, you want to do it, and that you have the GPA that qualifies you for it. And then all we do, we put you in touch with our industry partners. So Mr. White, real quickly, just list some of the industry partners that we've worked with so far that provide these opportunities for our students.
Yeah, as Mr. Murphy said, there is a lot to the co-op program, and we're already reaching out to these industries for the spring. We have Chrono, Dominion, Showadanko Carbon, There's two international paper opportunities, one here in Eastover and the other one in Port Wentworth, Georgia. We actually have one that is out of state, which is in Port Wentworth. Shaw Fibers in Columbia, DAC Chemical, and BP Chemical in Charleston. So a lot goes into these, and basically if you perform well after the completion of your co-op program, you still report to me on a weekly basis, but many of the students do get employed by the person they co-opt with. So it's a win-win situation. You do a good job, you pick up a lot of learning experience, and then also it kind of gives you a little bit of a jump on getting a job in industry.
And what is that? And like I said, these are paid positions. So you're working basically a full spring semester up to 5 months. And what is the pay range, Mr. White, for these positions?
This past year, it ran from $17 to $25 an hour, depending
Excellent.
on who you go up with.
All right, thank you. So as you're beginning the program, GPA, I can't stress that enough, because you may be doing really well and you're learning a lot, but if you're going into this final spring semester and your GPA is a 2.5, even if a partner or an industry wants to hire you for a co-op position, you will not qualify. So your GPA is very important, that it's a 3.0, and that includes everything. That includes an English, a humanities, a psychology, a math class, physics, everything, because it's a cumulative GPA of a 3.0 or greater to qualify for one of these positions. And like I said, it's not mandatory. It's an opportunity for you, and we really encourage people to do it. And we've been really fortunate because we have so many positions available and so many partners willing to work with us that I don't know, it's very rare that we're in a situation where we have a student that qualifies that was not offered a position. Now, keep in mind, you still have to apply, you have to interview. We don't have anything to do with placing a student. It's up to the industry partner to offer that opportunity or that position to them. All right, so getting into a little more of the information that may be a little bit of a repeat of what you had earlier in today as far as your new student orientation. When you look at your schedule, there are different types of courses that we offer. All of your courses will either be in one of two categories pretty much this semester. It's either going to be an online course. If it's an online course, it will probably have a section of a 40 at the end of it, or a 41, somewhere 40 something. And that lets you know that all the information entirely is online. So you may be taking a humanities or a psychology or an English that's completely online. All the courses that we're offering in your program area, with the exception of engineering ethics, that's completely online, is referred to as a hybrid. So a hybrid means that the very first day, or hopefully you can do that this week, you need to log into D2L, that's your learning management system for all of your courses, because you're going to have components of your class that will be online and then components that will be face-to-face in your lab. But make sure you look at your schedule, when the lab starts, what days you meet, what times you meet, the area, the room numbers that you meet, and your instructor. But everything else will be online. And I can't stress it enough that you really need to log into D2L consistently. Make sure that you stay up with all of the activities, the assessments, the assignments, that there's videos for you to look at or view that your instructors have created as far as lecture videos. You really need to make sure you do that and start doing that right away. On the college website, if you go to octech.edu, there's a lot of information. We do have an academic calendar posted, and that's really important information because it lets you know when classes begin, when they end, when a mini semester begins, when exams are scheduled, when your holidays are scheduled, when it's time to register, when it's time to talk to your advisor. All of that information is found on the academic calendar, and you want to make sure that you stay in tune with that. All right, so two systems that you're going to have to log into consistently. One they refer to as Connect, and the other is D2L. And I want to talk a little bit about the difference between Connect and D2L. D2L, once you get rolling here, you need to log into it every day, or maybe more than once a day, because that's where all of your enhanced instruction will be for all of your classes. But Connect basically will allow you to reach out to your advisor to see which classes that you're approved for the next semester, and some of the other things that Connect will allow you to do. You can check your financial aid status. You can see if there's a balance owed, or if you have money available that you can spend in the bookstore or whatever it happens to be. Once you register for classes, it will show you what your bill is. It'll give you options for paying your bill. It will allow you to go in to look for classes that are available in the next semester once they're posted. And once your advisor advises you and they approve your courses, you can also go through Connect and self-service to register for your own classes, or either reach out to your advisor for help registering for your classes. You can find out who your advisor is, and hopefully they will reach out to you before you reach out to them, because once we get rolling here in the fall semester, you'll get an email from your advisor letting you know, you are my advisee. I'm your academic advisor over the next several semesters, and I'll stay in touch with you to make sure that you stay on track. And then obviously once you register for classes, you're going to want to know what your schedule is, so you can view your schedule and print your schedule from there. And like I said, your academic advisor will help you set an academic plan, so you can look ahead to the next semester, and you can already kind of get an idea of which classes that your advisor is suggesting that you take in that semester, and you can start planning well ahead. You can also take a look at your final grades. You can look at your GPA, because remember we said you want to have a GPA of a 3.0 or greater if you want to participate in a co-op position. And you can also look at your unofficial transcript. A lot of times, even if you're looking maybe for part-time employment, once you get into the program for a while, that employer may ask to see your unofficial transcript, so they can kind of get an idea of what program work you've done so far and what your grades were, and you can share that with them if you like to. The D2L, Desire to Learn, this is your learning management system. So it's going to be very important that you log in every day. When you log in today, you're going to see all the courses that you're already registered for, and you should have access to them already. We've asked instructors to go ahead and put a welcome announcement on there, and if there is any information that you really need to know, because classes don't start until Monday on the 17th, that they can go ahead and put that information there. All of your class content will be there. Anything that's related to the course that you'll need. If there are ebooks there that's related, PowerPoint presentations, videos, websites that we may ask you to view or to research, all of that information will be in there. It's also going to allow you to do your assessments, to submit your assignments. Some instructors may ask you when you finish a lab to submit a lab report or a data collection. All of that will be very well laid out, very well organized for you, so that you'll know exactly how to submit all of your assignments. You can look at your course calendar. Many of the courses, the instructors will include a calendar to let you know when assessments are due, when a test is coming up, when an exam is coming up, when a lab is due. You'll be able to look at your current class grade. So that means if you're registered for, say, EGR 108 or EGR 130 or EET 113 this semester, when you log in, once you take an assessment and your instructor has graded it, that information will be there, and you'll be able to see what your grade is. Your attendance is there as well. Anything related to your performance in your class will be in D2L. And that's also how you're going to access your, what they refer to as your Brightspace email account. So you'll log in here to get to your email. So check your email very frequently as well, because as things change or schedule changes or something has to be canceled, you want to make sure that you're aware of that and that you're keeping up with it. You will also have online advising. So your advisor, like I say, will reach out to you this semester to let you know how you can have access to them and how you can share information with your academic advisor. This is kind of what your D2L homepage would look like. When you log in, if there's any campus-wide announcements, you'll see those, but you'll also see any courses that you're registered for. So when you select those courses, that will basically go to the home page of that course, and you'll start to see all this content and information, your announcements, and announcements will be links to different things that you need to do that week in that course. Also, if your instructor has the class calendar set up, like I said, that will let you know if you have assignments due or quizzes, when exams will be, and that also helps in your planning as you go through. It's just some expectations that you really just should kind of set for yourself. One thing to notice that every course will have either what we refer to as a course outline or a course syllabus, and that will be found in your content in each section of D2L for every course. And that will give you information that is particular to that course. So make sure that you look over that before you get really started through the end of next week. And you'll see that your instructors will link that, and they'll let you know where to find it, and they'll ask you to take a look at it. And if you have any questions, obviously you would ask your instructor about it. The expectations of the program, you want to make sure that you stay up with your work. You log into D2L consistently. If you have any questions at any point for any class, the first person you want to contact is your instructor. Ask for clarification. If there is anything that you have any question about, you want to make sure that you get that straightened out right away. You want to make sure that you are engaged and active on the very first day of class. Like I said, these are hybrid classes, and attendance will be recorded. You have an attendance for your online participation as well as your lab participation. So your instructor will be able to go in and they'll be able to tell when you logged in, what you did, how you're progressing as far as your online content, and that will be recorded as an attendance for that week. When you have your lab scheduled, obviously that will also be recorded as attendance for that week as well. So you want to make sure that you keep your attendance up. In the labs, we have safety precautions that we will let you know that depending on the particular lab. You want to make sure that you follow those safety precautions, not only just related to social distancing and things like that, but related to the equipment that you'll be working with. Because like I said, this is industry standard equipment, so that you'll want to make sure that you adhere to any of the safety guidelines that instructors give you when we get into class. Your textbooks, if there's a textbook related to the class, that should already be on the announcements page on all of your classes. The bookstore is open, and I want to give you some information in a second to share with you how you find how to get to your textbooks and things like that. But you want to get your textbook right away. If there's not a textbook, that will also be posted in your announcement section, letting you know that you do not have to get a textbook. The dress code, just very quickly, if you're in a class, especially like in the electrical controls class, the instrumentation classes, there may be some dress code related to like the type of shoes that you would wear. And that would be given to you by your instructor. And I'll use this as an example. In instrumentation lab, you can't wear flip-flops or sandals. You have to have a closed-toed shoe. And any of that information would be related to you by your instructor, because you could easily drop something on your foot, and that would offer some protection, and that's more of a safety application. A little bit about, I'm going to move pretty quickly about advising and registration. I'm going to go through all of this real quick. You are assigned an advisor, and they will advise you throughout the semester. But advisement and registration will begin later in the semester for the spring semester. Advising really means that the student, it is talking to the advisor, and the advisor is approving suggested classes and approving them. That does not mean that you've registered for them. If your classes are approved and registration opens, you can register online. If you're not comfortable registering online, reach out to your advisor, and your advisor will be able to help you with your registration and get you registered and ready to go. Keep in mind the GPA is cumulative, so that includes all of your general education classes like math and English, humanities or psychology. All of that builds your GPA for the program, in addition to things like physics or PLC programming or electronic circuits classes. So it's all cumulative. I mentioned it very quickly that if you want to transfer to a four-year college, let your advisor know right away, because we want to make sure that we maximize the credits that you take here that we know automatically will transfer to a four-year college. And the sooner you do that, the better off you'll be, because you definitely, if you have that in mind and that's your plan, you want to make sure that you maximize the credits that you're able to transfer to a four-year college. Financial aid, there's a such thing as what's referred to as the FAFSA. You want to make sure that you, I think you have to complete that every year. If there's any questions about financial aid, or if there is some financial obligation that is not covered by financial aid, you would still go through the financial aid folks, and they may be able to key you into some scholarships and things that are just program specific to the instrumentation program. This is a resources page, and hopefully they've shared this with you in new student orientation. If not, on the very front page of octech.edu, at the very top, it says return to campus, learn more. And this is the link to it. Hopefully it's going to open up so that you can see it. And I'm going to try to get it. Okay, so this is the web page. If you go to this, return to campus, learn more, this will take you to this page. This has all of the different areas where you may have questions, and it's really, really well laid out. If you have any questions, say about D2L, you would select this. About the bookstore, when it's open, when is the library open. If you have an issue, you don't have internet access at home, you would select here, and it may have some information about how you can get an internet hotspot and resources for you at home. How do you add or drop a class through the add drop period? How do you contact your advisor? And another thing, if you need help in student services, it doesn't matter whether it's financial aid or dropping a class or adding a class or getting your textbooks, the best option for you is to use this, what's referred to as the QLIS system. And that is on this page as well. So if you select this, this will open up an application where you give them your information, how to contact you, and basically you're put into a queue. You'll know if you're the third person or the fourth person or the second person in line. And as soon as you're up, you get a text message, they contact you right away. You let them know who you need to talk to or what your issue is, and they'll put you in touch with whoever it happens to be. If it's a financial aid question, they'll put you in touch with someone in financial aid. If it's a bookstore question or adding a class or dropping a class, or if you can't connect to D2L or you forgot your password, use this QLIS system and they'll get you the help that you need. Okay, so as we're kind of wrapping this up, I want to put some of this up here and kind of hit these points really quickly. If you're thinking about the time required to successfully complete the courses, remember you are going to spend quite a bit of time in D2L doing the coursework, looking at the lecture videos, doing the assessments. A lot of it is interactive opportunities for you. So you want to make sure that you schedule enough time during the week. So even though you may only have a lab twice a week for 3 hours Monday, 3 hours Wednesday, whatever your schedule is, that there's a lot more work involved than just showing up for a lab and doing your lab. So I know that everybody has a lot of other responsibilities besides class. Many of you have families full-time. A lot of you may be a parent. You may have a full-time job or a part-time job. So it's really going to be crucial that you kind of balance all of this. And at any point, if you decide that you're taking too many classes, speak to your advisor and maybe cut back a little bit on something so that it may take you longer to get through the program, but your chances of success are far greater. You don't want to really just overwhelm yourself with classes and labs and deadlines, as well as job and family and all these other responsibilities as well. So manage your time well. Stay in touch with your instructor. If you need extra help or extra time on something, reach out to them and see if they can work with you. It's very important that you really engage in the classroom, even though A lot of it will be online. Make sure you engage with your instructor. If you have any opportunities to work in small groups, whether it's online or through discussion boards mostly, later on when things are a little more back to normal, you'll be able to work with students on small group projects. Like I said, right now between this semester and next semester, typically you'll be working individually on your own equipment just because of the nature of the situation that we're in. Since we're getting really close to finishing up, I want to stop here. We do have the chat open. If anyone has a question that you would like to ask us, if you would just enter the question in, we're going to spend a few minutes trying to answer any questions that anyone may have. All right, Mr. White or Mrs. Phillips, is there anything that you want to add as we wrap up, just a kind of a word of encouragement or something for our students? You want to go first, Stephanie?
I think you covered everything. I just am excited to see everyone on whenever you have lab with me starting next week, and come prepared to have fun.
Thank you. Mr. White?
All I'd like to say is that you can tell from Mr. Murphy and everything that's been presented that we all as a team are very anxious to have you. We want you to learn and get prepared to go out there and get some of these great jobs that are in industry, and just help you start out in a great career. So we look forward to having you.
All right, thank you. And I want to thank you all for participating. I think anyone that came into the room is still here, or at least you're still logged in. So hopefully we didn't bore you so much that you just disconnected. But you do have access to all of us, and you will have access right away to your instructors through D2L. And if you have any issue with anything in your D2L classes, make sure that you reach out to your instructor right away and get those issues resolved. Again, welcome to the program. You have selected an excellent program. Like I said, 100% job placement rate, great opportunities for employment, great career opportunities, large salaries attached with these careers. So we're looking forward to working with you over the next several semesters. Thank you.